Hello and welcome to what I think is actually episode 36 of FPL Journey to 10K. I'm pretty sure I said it was last week. That was episode 35. This is now episode 36. Thanks for joining us. This is the pod and series in which we speak to and get guidance from one of the best players to ever play the game. I'll say it every week and I'm going to continue to say it. In his 8 seasons, he's finished in the top 10K 6 times. He's in fantasy football fixes top 10 elite managers, and he is a former world number one. And I don't say this part every week. He's also a friend and an all round good guy. Matt, how has your Easter break been?
Yeah, very good, very good. And thanks for that intro. That's a bit of an upgrade. I'll take that. I'll take
Take
that.
it.
I have to say, yeah, you're a guy who loves his trade doing this. I don't think anyone would have noticed the you mentioned episode 36 before. So yeah, very honest and attention to detail.
That'll be.
Got to be
That'll
admired.
be. Yeah, yeah. And well, I just want to welcome new subscribers, by the way. We've hit 300, Matt.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Thank you, guys. No, appreciate it. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank
I
you.
mean, I don't know how much value is being taken this year. Not from me, but like from you, maybe there's that people are doing decent based on based on your advice. But yeah, I'm hoping personally this hoping it's a bit of a one-off season for me. I'm hoping next year when we come back, it'll be like we can be like talking about a proper battle for the 10K, top 10K and stuff like that. But hey.
We will, but there's still 9 game weeks to go, Matt. Still 9 game weeks to go, and potentially three double game weeks
Yeah,
involved in
yeah,
that. So
you're right.
plenty
You're
of
right.
points to be played for.
You're right, mate. You are right. You are right. But yeah, like obviously big week for you, big Easter week for you in terms of fantasy, right? Because you wildcarded. You were flirting with the idea. You
Did.
pulled the trigger. How are you feeling?
All right, all right, yeah. I may as well bring the team up and see how show how I've got on. Um, but yeah, okay. Very small green arrow.
Uh-huh.
So I think safety was 61 actually, and I've ended up on 61. So a small green arrow from 83k to the heights of 82k, a big 1k drop. But 61 points overall. You mentioned something a couple of weeks ago. The higher you rank, the harder it is to get a green arrow. And a couple of weeks back when I was maybe flirting with the 2 million rank, getting 14 points above the average would have seen quite a decent green. Whereas now it's not so much. So I need to try and do something um, to get away from that safety score. But overall, quite happy with the team. The Chelsea clean sheet wipe was pretty frustrating for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But I thought as soon as Burnley went down to 10 men, that would have saw the clean sheet come home. But just for those that can't see the team and you're listening, I had Petrovic and Gusto, so 2 points and 1 point across the rest of my back line. Lascelles, very disappointing. Bad luck with that one. Injured very early doors, but Newcastle conceded three anyway, so he was never going to get any more than the 1 point he got. And then one difference from what I showed you the team last week, I did have Brantwaite, and I
Yeah.
decided to go for Conor Bradley instead. Main reason behind that, I prefer Bradley's fixtures at home to Brighton, and then this midweek at home to Sheffield United, compared to what Brantwaite had. I just think Bradley, whilst Trent is in there, has got a much greater output and attacking threat than Brantwaite's ever going to have. Proven by the fact that even though he conceded, he didn't get an attack in return, he still got 2 bonus points at the weekend, Bradley, because of the amount of attacking threat he had for Liverpool. So quite happy to have him for this week coming, and it's an easy transfer. They're both 4.2 million. As long as price don't move, it's a very easy transfer for me in a week or two when Trent's back. Bradley straight into Brantwaite ahead of the double. Um, and then the midfield, let's be honest, the four I've got pick themselves. So Palmer with 15, Saka with 3, Salah as my captain, so 7 double to 14, and then Son getting 10. We'll come on to it because I know you had the same captain as me. I felt slightly hard done by. Salah had 13 shots, which is the most he's ever had in a Premier League game.
Yeah.
Only got one goal. He also had an assist disallowed. He had a goal, a shot that I thought I was celebrating it before it went in, that the keeper managed to get down to. But then again, Son, I know that was it was the other popular pick, got 1 goal but 3 bonus. Salah's issue is he gives the ball away too much, so he loses out on that bonus points. But Son also hit both posts with a shot in that game, so he could have got
I, I mean,
5 points.
yeah, Salah non-captain has got away with it, right? Just based on those underlying stats, right? I think, his kind of like expected output was double, I think, of Son. So yeah, even though Son hit the post, it was like tougher chances and whatnot. And yeah, he scored a goal. Yeah, after 85
Yeah,
minutes again. So
as you always say.
they always count, don't they? Yeah, so it shows
Yeah,
the benefits of picking players that are nailed for 90 minutes plus. But yeah, I think
bear
it's
that in mind.
partly because he's more clinical, right? But also, I think Spurs are a worse team. Like it doesn't, it kind of helps Son with bonus versus Salah. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think he was Salah was the right captaincy kind of pick, and yeah, even the underlying stats that didn't pick up, the penalty calls, the 2 disallowed assists. You're still nearly 2 expected goal involvement of like 2, I think, right? Which is kind of like mad. So, and he was looking clinical, he was looking electric. So it was a bit unfortunate. But yeah, for me personally, it feels like a bit of a story of the season where it's kind of like, maybe kind of like right picks, underlying stats say it's the right pick in the actual games, but then like, they just don't convert their chances. But
yeah,
I think in another day, Salah's coming out that game with like 18, 19 points, right? Like I
yeah,
think it would have been very, you could have seen him with the goal he got plus the non-assist. I think that's a bit of a weird one, actually. I mean, from an FPL point of view, and I think what side of the fence you're on these calls really depends whether you benefit from it or not. But I'd really prefer FPL to just go to like Opta assists. It's either an assist or it's
yeah,
not. None of this nonsense around intended target and whatnot, because it's always a bit dubious, right? Because I think
yeah.
there was a deflection, but it didn't really divert the assist
Yeah.
for
And
Diaz's
Diaz,
goal
for
too much. Yeah,
anybody, that's it. And Diaz was
it
on
was
side.
intended for that. Intended that for areas. That was a bit of a weird one. And obviously, then there was the very very marginal VAR call for Diaz's kind of
Yeah,
second. But I mean, in person on that one, it looked like it was a wrong defender, and there was a penalty shout and whatnot. So yeah, there was a lot of action there. More, I know Son hit the woodwork twice, but like, I think kind of Salah's underlying stats and like dubious calls. Suggest that he was probably the best captaincy option. But yeah, we'll live. But yeah, good that you got
yeah,
a green arrow. I mean, were there
yeah.
any 50-50 calls that
A
you were
few,
making going into the wild card?
a few, yeah. And it's really with their strike force. I was always going to have Haaland,
Yeah,
2 points for Haaland, but then I've ended up on Solanke, who got me 7, and Darwin, who got me 2.
yeah,
Now going without Watkins into that Wolves game panicked me. So it was Solanke and Darwin, who got 9 combined, or Muniz and Watkins. Now Muniz scored. Obviously, he ended up with
yeah,
6, 93rd minute goal.
yeah.
Watkins ended up going off a half time and getting 1 point. Now that for me and he was probably the most owned player that I didn't have, so that could have damaged my
Mm.
rank massively if he had gone firing. So I very much got away with that. And then going forward, I'd rather have Solanke and Darwin, which is why I plumped for those 2 instead. I was like, just get game week 30, 30 out the way. Whatever happens, happens. In 31, I'm going to sell Watkins for Darwin anyway, so I may as well just go with Darwin now. That's kind of how
Yeah,
I looked at it.
I don't think it was. I think it was a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. I don't think it was. I don't think it was a close call. I think if you're a wild card, it would have been stupid to keep hold of Watkins with the fixtures and the lack of doubles. I mean, I'll be provocative now. I reckon your old team though would have probably outscored your new team.
Essentially,
Because
I'll have to
you were the
look
captain
back
son.
at this.
You were the captain
I'd have
son. You would
captain
probably have
Son. I would have
you'd have
captain Son.
Gabriel and Saliba.
I would have played Gabriel. Saliba would have been on the bench, but I would
I
have
think you've been
played
forced to play him
Gabriel.
actually because you had so many injuries, right? So
I
you
think I
might play
just got
Saliba.
away with it. But I would have bought Palmer in, so I'd have still got his
Yeah,
15.
yeah,
No, I'd have ended up playing. I'll look back and find out. I'll tell you who my team would have been, and I'll work out my points as you talk through your team. But just to finish, Ray and Gabriel both on the bench. I was never going to play them, so I
yeah,
can't be upset about missing out on their clean sheets. As soon as I hit the wild card, they were never playing. And then the Wolves team there were never in for this game week. They're really in for future game weeks and the doubles. But yeah, I can't complain. Any green arrow is always a positive, and I'm I'm happy with my team, which is the main thing. But yeah, chat on yours, and I'll find out what my old team would have got. We'll do the
Yeah.
comparison.
I think obviously the glaring thing in your team now is like Lascelles is out for the season. He's a very inflexible price point, right? And then Gusto, similarly, we'll see how severe his injury is. But like if he's out, then it's again a difficult price point to move to other valid options. So obviously the structure of your team isn't too inflexible. It is a bit inflexible with like obviously 34 and 37 coming out. So I think you might you got some like people that you got some players there where a lot of money's just kind of like centered on them, notably Son. So you do have exit routes, but that's probably obviously the downside. You can't predict injuries, but obviously those price points are tough to have. Two of those like kind of like really three of those really cheap points are Bradley, Gusto, and Lascelles. So I think got unlucky with those injuries. For my team, I was on I know you put green there, but on a small red. So I think I got a.
Is it for green? Sorry, my bad. I'm just letting you know. I'm just giving you some.
So I'm down 7k to 300k. So still like a really bad rank. But I'm kind of happy with my moves and whatnot. And like obviously the big difference between a really nice green arrow and a red was the Son capt that he came off 10 times 2, and then the Salah one kind of didn't based on those versus the underlying stats. So I think I got a little bit unlucky there. But I think I made a hit outside of a double game week or a blank game week, which is really rare for me. But like the moves really did come off. So I got rid of De Bruyne, who I hated in my team since game week 25, and Foden as well, which was a little bit harder losing him. But I brought in Salah, of course, who I think is a must-have. And this week he was a must-have, and going into future weeks he's a must-have as well. And Palmer, who I think falls into that category as well. So Salah got 7 points. I captained him 14, and then Palmer got his 15-point haul as well. And that 15 points, it wasn't unlucky. Right? I know he got a penalty as well, but he got, I think his expected goal involvement was about 2 again. So the penalty is about 0.8. So he still did really, really well even without that. So kind of really well. I was kind of like 1 week in, but that hit was definitely worth it, and I would have been plummeting a lot more had I not done that hit. But running for my team, 62 points, 1.8 million overall game week rank, and I did take a -4, so 58 kind of points really. So Kelleher and Bradley, we're talking about the Liverpool game, weren't we, before we kind of like clicked live, and I mean kind of like it's just a bit annoying when you got double defense and like they concede like 5 minutes into Danny Welbeck of all people. But I'm kind of cool with that. I think probably going into the game week, Liverpool had the best odds of a clean sheet, them and Chelsea. So like, I mean, I was cool going into it, and like, Bradley getting his bonus points was a nice bonus. Gabriel, I started him over Saliba. Got 6 points there, which was unexpected, but we do know Arsenal are elite defense, so maybe we shouldn't be as surprised at that. But obviously pleasantly surprised at that. I played Zabani over Kirkez because I thought Kirkez is almost like dead from an FPL point of view. He actually, his minutes risks came into his favor. He actually got 6 points because he was subbed after 62 minutes. So that's a bit annoying, but like, I wasn't really expecting much from a Bournemouth defender. Midfield, spoke about Palmer and Salah, so really happy that I brought them both in for De Bruyne and Foden. We'll see if that move works out medium term. I'm very confident it will be, because both those assets are better than Foden and De Bruyne, right? I think if you're doing a toss up between Palmer versus Foden or Palmer versus De Bruyne, you'd want Palmer, like you really would, like despite the kind of price point. Gordon was really interesting. I think he came out with 8 points. Like it's kind of like, and I was happy playing Gordon because Newcastle were good at attack. He's always getting like attacking returns every single home game. So they were playing like a really bad defense in West Ham, right? So I was kind of cool playing Gordon. I've never seen that 8 points kind of come from like, I don't know if a player had 3 assists, which is mad. Like so three attacking returns, but then obviously got a red card as well and 0 bonus. So on another day he would have like 11 base points and then probably be on track for like 2 bonus at least. So 8 points is really nice, but it's a problem for next week with him being suspended as well. But a bit of a funny like score there. And then I started with Richarlison over Saka. That was So that was just a mistake. I missed the deadline on Saturday morning. I would have probably benched Richarlison for Saka just because of like the injury rumors and kind of like the rotation risk that he had there. But whatever. Luckily, I wasn't punished by it. And then up front, Solanke same as you, Haaland same as you, and then kind of Watkins who went off injured. So it'd be interesting to see the severity of that injury. So yeah, even though it's a red arrow, I'm feeling quite positive. I think the two that kind of like paid off really nicely, and I think I was just a bit unfortunate with the Salah captaincy. So yeah, all good for me.
Can't wait then having Salah as a differential. Like first time probably this season that I've gone onto FPL Live rank and Salah's been included as a differential for me. I can't remember that ever happening. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was
just out
100% effective ownership for me. So like, yeah, normally in a week like this, he would be like 150, 160%. But I mean, this is going to unfortunately be the last week because everyone's going to have him for next week.
Absolutely.
A lot of people with the
no doubt.
A lot of people with the template will just get rid of Son and Watkins. Unfortunately, it's a really nice move that they don't have to really think about. So it'll be Watkins downgraded to Cunha or Mateta, and then Son to Salah, right? So yeah, you can't really critique those moves, but it's unfortunate when like a certain template pathway just opens up through injuries and whatnot. But hey,
that's why we're here. Well, just out of curiosity, I've added up the score from the team that I would have played, and you're right. Because Kyle Walker didn't play, Saliba would have, because it was either Saliba or Charlie Taylor, and I'd have gone for Saliba out the two because Charlie Taylor was away at Chelsea. I'd have ended up on 68 points.
Ooh, you should have kept your powder dry then. Bit too. No, you couldn't have. Yeah, I think your team was right for a wild card.
It was
that's reassuring.
Right,
I thought you were bored. Like I was like, what are you looking at? Doing your calculations.
68 it was. But yeah, it is. But as I say, I was like the fact that I've got the two Arsenal players on the bench tells you all what I thought that scoreline was going to be. Did not see a clean sheet, and this is the problem. We've had double Arsenal defence since about game week 4 or something crazy.
Yeah,
and very rarely has the clean sheet come in. So I was like, it's never going to come in at the end. Manchester City have scored in 57 games in a row at the Etihad. Wow, they're not going to keep a clean sheet. Boom, there's your clean sheet. So anyway. Our clean sheets, a thing of the past. That's my very next topic. So looking at it at the weekend, that probably the most boring game of the weekend, by the way, Man City Arsenal. Appreciate you didn't get the chance to watch it. You watched the Liverpool one instead. You missed nothing, mate. It was dull. 0-0 tells you everything you need to know about that game. And then Villa got a clean sheet as well. And that was it. So there are only 3 clubs out of the 20. I think we're seeing defences not really getting there. Like, what are your thoughts with your defence? Like you mentioned before, my team's pretty inflexible in terms of price structure in my defence, and I completely agree. And I'll come on to what I'm doing with Lascelles a little bit later on. But like when you're going to play your wild card, you've still got it in the bag. Are you thinking heavily about your defence, or you're just going for your mids and your attacks?
Well, the question here, are clean sheets a thing of the past? No, I think I don't have the stats up, but I imagine probably in the last 10 games, probably Arsenal have had 5 or 6 clean sheets, right? So they're not for like a thing of the past for elite defenses. So yeah, for Arsenal and then a level below them, Man City, Liverpool. Who else would
You've
be
nailed
up there?
this so far. I've got some stats here, and you have nailed it so far.
You've got 1, 2, and
3 in order.
I think Brighton the next one, which is a bit crazy. But I think there's one elite defense, and then there's several pretty good defenses, and then everyone else is quite mid. So if you go for one of the mid defenses, just kind of get someone who's on track for a random attacking return, I guess. So what I'll do for wildcard, because I'm targeting game week 35, I think I'm pretty much set on that now, is that unfortunately, because Arsenal won't have a double, they've got theirs in 34. I'll probably be jumping off that double Arsenal defense, it'll be pretty hard, and I feel a bit vulnerable about it. But it'll be dictated by the fixtures and just the amount of fixtures, really. But I think the underlying team stats I think always do come through over the long term, and we are seeing that.
Well, I'll give you some stats then. I mentioned this calendar year, so since the 1st of January, best defences based on expected goals conceded. Arsenal top, no surprise there. They've only been expected to concede 4.3 goals this calendar year in the Premier League.
Yeah, now how many matches?
Meaningful.
That's about what 10 matches nearly.
I should have figured that out, but I didn't. But yeah, it's going to be roughly there, right?
Yeah,
City a second, 9.96, and then so more than double
well, that's a
Arsenal.
hell of a gap, isn't
Then
it?
it's massive, absolutely massive, and then Liverpool are 11.62. Fourth place, Nottingham Forest,
Oh, I'm really surprised. I am. I
12.65.
am really surprised. I did see Brighton as a surprise because, like, we always attach them like the
Well, yeah,
monarch of being crap. But like, I think it was from playing away they were the fourth best. But I think even when you do their average over the season for combined home and away, I think they're like in the top six defenses, which is
they are.
quite
Since
interesting.
the
Yeah,
calendar year started, they
yeah,
are sixth. You are
yeah.
correct. And Spurs, who were right at the bottom, Spurs are fifth.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like, yeah, sometimes you can kind of just get hung up on like your perceptions from like early in the year or a few years seasons ago. But like, yeah, obviously these things are dynamic. But yeah, I surprised myself there actually kind of guessing where those teams are. But yeah, obviously,
Yeah,
you know, those numbers talk tell the whole story, right? There's one proper elite defense and probably the best we've seen like for a couple of seasons. That'll probably be the reason why Arsenal win the league, right? Because they can just kind of keep clean
we'll say
sheets, right?
that. Why
Yeah,
would you? Why would you
well,
come to me with that? But
well, yeah, well, they're the best. If we're talking about calendar year, which seems to be your
yeah.
time frame now, they've been the best team by far. I mean, so, um, like,
I'm not expecting Liverpool to win the league. I'm just going to put. I'm not expecting us to win it. I'm expecting
yeah,
City to win it. But yeah, I agree. Arsenal's defense is by far the best.
yeah. And there's a few others we can like target there, but like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mentioned that Palmer's continued to prove his worth. Don't have to touch much on Palmer, to be honest. If you haven't got him, why haven't you got him? He's
Mm.
£5.9 million. He has
I
an
think it's
expected
probably,
goal involvement of 2.21 this weekend.
yeah. So yeah, people say he's a penalty merchant, but every game the non-penalty expected goal involvement is really good every single game as well, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, next season I think he'll probably be like I probably think he'd be probably about priced at 8 or 8.5, but like probably more realistically, he should be like 9 just to show like his
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
value that since he got into that team. I think probably the debate is not whether you have him, and people may ask why I didn't have him in my team, and it was just me playing the game around free hit 29 or not, right? So I think Chelsea long term were never going to play in game week 29, and like I got rid of him just to hedge my bets, right? Really. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
obviously a couple of game weeks I didn't have him, which weren't pleasant, but like, yeah, as soon as it was viable to get him back in, I got him back in. It's pretty more a debate whether he's a valid captaincy option. Because obviously Chelsea obviously not as good as some of the other teams that the captaincy options come from. But like Palmer himself is doing incredibly well every single game, it seems. So it's more of a debate of not whether you have him, is whether he becomes like a
Yeah. You've
really
nailed
good
them.
captaincy option most game weeks.
Well, my wife
Maybe.
will be happy to hear you say that because she captained him this weekend and got a nice little 30 points on the back of it.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not even a lucky thing. I mean, like honestly, if I had Son and Palmer, I probably would have gone Palmer. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's yeah, kind of doing awesome. And then you got Isak, lucky or brilliant. I think Isak's a
Yeah.
really good striker option, really. And I think when you look at when he does play, like the underlying stats, are kind of really, really good. Newcastle, despite being out of form, their attack has still performed really good. It's their defense that's letting them down. So yeah, Isak is, I think, a really good option. When you look across the season, he's done really well, right?
I
And
agree.
so
I agree.
yeah, I think he's probably one of the
No,
best
yeah.
striker options at the moment. Like I think he's definitely someone for everyone's watch list, and for people wildcarding 35, I think he'll be in a lot of teams just because of like
Yeah.
um,
A double.
how games land. Yeah,
A double coming. But as well, he got 1.87 expected goals, right? This weekend. 1.6 of that was from penalties. But over the season, I know you're a fan of the expected goal involvement per 90, and he will play 90 when Wilson's not fit. He is on 0. Expected goal involvement per 90 is on 0.79, which is the third highest for any striker in the division.
yeah,
Unsurprisingly, number one's Haaland, and number two is my boy Darwin Nunes. So he's in the top 3 over the season.
Yeah,
I know Watkins has outscored all of them in FPL points, but stats back at Isaac ahead of Watkins. Interesting. So
yeah, and
yeah,
I
brilliant.
think that was one of the first games that there was actually a proper front three fit for Liverpool, where you had Isaac, Barnes, and Gordon. Obviously, Gordon's like suspended now for the next. I think it's for the next game. I'm not sure if it's a
Just one.
multi-game
Just one.
suspension, but having just like three vibrant, good attackers makes a difference as well, right? So I think that there's been some games where it's just been Isaac or it's just been Gordon, and it does blunted attack. I think with 3 options there, it really does help him. So yeah, I think he's kind of really, is he lucky or brilliant in the single game getting 2 penalties is a little bit lucky, but it was a nature of Newcastle attacking a lot, and
Yeah,
I think he's good, very good option, mate.
he's like Sterling. He loves to win a penalty, but it is part of the game, and it's like you knew what was coming next, Matt. Midfield options. I kind of put in brackets replacements for Gordon question mark. I know he's only missing 1 game, so people might decide to keep hold of him. But I think a lot of people are either wildcarding or doing transfers. They're probably going to try and get Palmer, Saka, Salah, Son, and then a 5th. And this is just bringing up who has been playing well over the last 6 game weeks, and then I put their points down the right hand side. Now, there's a couple of others I'll touch on, but these seem to be the midfielders in form.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody that jumps out at you? Apart from the obvious, right? So Havertz, for example. Havertz, according to the stats, should be the second highest scoring midfielder on the game over the last 6 game weeks. But he seemed to be. The interesting thing with that, I don't know whether it was a one-off, but he got moved back into the midfield against City.
I think that was because of Jesus playing as a defensive forward in there, really, to kind of like press.
Yeah.
But he can play. He can get he can do decent from midfield as well. I think so. I won't worry about that. I think obviously ignoring replacements for Gordon, because I think that's a very team dependent thing. I don't think Gordon is massively owned at the moment. These are the names like that stand out. Obviously, except Salah, but I guess
Out. Salah's only played 3 games in the last 6 game weeks because of African injury and so on, and the African combinations. Otherwise, he'd be well at the top, you'd imagine.
Exactly. Kind of Foden being up top, both in terms of like his expected FPL points the last like 5-6 game weeks, and then looking good for the next 5 or 6. Bit worrying because I got rid of him, but I think I'll kind of come out on top on that one. Diaz is an intriguing option, right? I think he's 3rd in the expected FPL points the last 6 game weeks. As a midfielder, that kind of probably reflects what we've seen in games. He's looking pretty attacking, pretty direct. I think he was poor early in the season, but it's like really coming together now for him. So I think he's a really interesting option as a 2nd or 3rd Liverpool attacker, right? And you can kind of see obviously got a nice double coming up in 34, about 32 expected kind of points over the next 6 is a really interesting one. So I think he's one to watch. I think for me, I'm probably shopping for my personal replacements for Gordon. I'm shopping I'm going to be a bit more thrifty than this, right? I'm going to be shopping for the bargain bucket. I'm going to be looking at like your Cerebers or your Ezes, right? So
I think a lot will. I think a lot of people are going to be shopping in that bucket. There's two came up on this list that are at that lower mark. McAllister, Liverpool, another Liverpool option, and he seems to be pressing forward over the last how many game weeks? 6 game weeks that I put on. He scored twice, and he's got 4 assists. Now, caveats with the goals, both of them were penalties, and most Salah's back, so you'd expect Salah to be taking the penalties over McAllister going forward. But the 4 assists, but I mean, would he tempt you?
Not at all. I think obviously with everyone's going to want to have 3 Liverpool players going into 34, and they're going to want to have the optimal ones. I think if you got McAllister there, you're playing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, the ones that aren't on this list, whether the expected points are higher, and I feel like you're going to say the same for this guy, Declan Rice, 27.4. But I'm assuming based on his position, he's not really an FPL player for you.
No, of course. Yeah, no.
Of course he's not. So scrap him. The other 2, I think, are more interesting. How do you pronounce it? Sarabia for
Yeah,
Wolves, a winger. £4.7 million, but he's expected to get 26.5, which is ahead of most of that list that we've got up at the minute. And then Decore at Everton, 5.5 million,
yeah.
expected points 25.6.
The core I like. The core is an option if you're looking for a real cheap player just to come into kind of certain games for sure. But I mean, it's a bit of a weird table, right? Like I know, obviously,
Yeah,
the story, it tells the story, and everyone can look at the expected FPL points. They can look at the points. They can look at the expected ones going forward. Obviously, looking at this table, I think you can look at the minutes column here. There's such a range because that game week 25 to game week 30, there was blanks, there was doubles, so it was such a wide spectrum, right? So the player that really stands out here is Palmer, who's played compared to a lot of the players 2 less games.
yeah,
Like, do you know what I mean? Look, he's got 337 minutes versus 538 for Kudos. 519
yeah,
for Gibbs White. Yeah, he's kind of right up there in terms of that expected points. So I think yeah, obviously when you weight these things like per 90, it changes a little bit. So I think the form of the pure form of the last like 6 game weeks, I'm not going to put too much precedent on it, but just because it was a
yeah.
weird period, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a very weird period. Well, you'll be happy to know that I'm giving you a very similar table for strikers because I think a lot of people will now be looking at Watkins out. He's
Yeah, yeah,
got potential injury. He's also got City away. He's got
yeah.
Arsenal away in his next 3. He doesn't double in game week 34 after that. So I think a lot of people are now going to take the chance to potentially jump off of him. Um, so yeah, brought this table up just to show the past 6 game weeks, but again there'll be blanks and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. But the expected points, Haaland miles ahead as you'd expect, and then Solanke second and Isaac coming in third. So if you've got your setup, your Haaland,
Mhm.
who are your other two, right? Who's second and
Um,
third for you at the minute?
yeah, so I think it's take a pick out of a couple. And I agree, getting rid of Watkins is a good option at the moment, despite obviously good form. Like you got to play the minutes trump most things, really, right? So I think yeah, Watkins out is kind of really quite sensible at the moment. So I think let's ignore Isaac short term just because he's got some good fixtures. Like he doesn't have the immediate double, so let's kind of discount Isaac for the time being and say from 35 onwards, then he becomes really really interesting. But yeah, Isaac should be on
Yeah,
everyone's shortlist. I think right at the moment it's Solanke, Haaland, which are just absolute no brainers. It's Nunes who doesn't appear on here, but that's because of the blanks and kind of whatnot. I
injury
would
as
imagine.
well. But I'll give you his expected 26.3.
And how many minutes did he have?
No, so that's his expected for the next
Oh,
6 game weeks. 26.3 points, which puts him fourth or fifth
yeah.
on that list.
I disagree with that. I think a lot of the models are quite low on his expected
Yeah,
minutes. But I think kind of like he seems to play near enough
yeah,
like every game, right? So I think yeah. Well,
yeah,
I've disagreed with it and got it wrong. I haven't got the minutes wrong, but I've got the
yeah.
output has been wrong. But like yeah, I think yeah, Solanke, Haaland, Nunes. Then you're talking about I think people like players like Mateta, Cunha
Yeah. You
for
mentioned
Wolves
Mateta. Cunha,
and
you
Muniz.
mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cunha's 5.5 million. His expected is 25.1. Again, he's got a double game week in 34.
Yeah.
And Mateta seems to be quietly getting points. He's got in his last 5 games 4 attack and returns. Palace also double, both at home. And I know you mentioned shopping around in your bargain buckets. I got the feeling that you might have to do it either in your midfield or in your attack, right?
Yeah.
If you bargain buckets in your attack, who you going? Muniz, Mateta, Semenyo, Cunha.
Yeah, probably Cunha, but like Cunha and then Mateta, I think would be the options that I would go for just because of the doubles and then the nailedness, particularly for Cunha if he's back fit. Mateta does have
eh,
there's other options that lurk around there, but I think he's the favoured number 9 for Palace at the moment. But that could change. As there's a few other options there. But yeah, Muniz obviously is a kind of great option, but like yeah, the lack of a double doesn't like make it
Yeah,
appealing for me. So yeah, I think those are the cheaper options that I would I would do it. I would kind of call. And yeah, lots of people go there. A lot of the kind of managers who are doing really good this season, who are following like models such as like Review and others, and I bet their pathway is going to be Son to Salah and then Watkins to Cunha. I'd say that's probably what when they put it in their solver, that's what it will say is the optimal move, and that's a good move. You can't deny that one. But yeah, I think I'd probably put Nunez. I'd prefer over those options. But obviously, we're talking about cheaper options at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, the only other option, if anybody wanted to gamble, if you only have two Arsenal attackers, they've obviously got Luton at home, and they've got double game week 34 coming up. Is Jesus an option? He started against City.
No, what a waste. Obviously, yeah.
Didn't think he was going to be.
No, this is a team where you want like the three best players, right? So yeah, it'd be stupid get, and like you want there's just loads of good striker options, right? Again, Jesus would be just like dumb.
Yeah. So it's are you still on the bandwagon of you're trendsetting the bandwagon, double Arsenal defence and Saka. Is that still where you're at for Arsenal?
Not necessarily, right? I guess if you're free hitting, right, you could quite easily. It's a valid option to consider Odegaard and Saka, right?
Yeah.
Or Saka and Havertz. I think the Odegaard Saka option is better, but like if you want to play a little bit bold, you go Havertz as well. So
options.
Yeah. But there's options. There's three very good midfield options two very good options, and then one pretty good one in Havertz for Arsenal. And then there's like 3-4 outstanding defender options with Raya, White, Gabriel, and Saliba, right?
Yeah.
So why waste it? Why? Why? And we spoke about so many good striker options there as well. Why waste it on someone like Jesus?
Yeah, I would concur. Now talking about Saka, he on the models, some models have seen is top of this tree. Son is Haaland is also top of some, but we like to use Fantasy Football Fix. So this, as we do every week, look at the best captain option. On fixes, Salah is streets ahead now. He's at home to Sheffield United. Saka in second, 7.1. He is at home to Luton. And then Diaz, interestingly, coming in third place with 6.9. I don't think people will go Diaz, if I'm honest. I think if you've got Salah, that's where you're going. I thought the only other pick people might go for is Solanke. Solanke's at home to Palace. Thought that might be an interesting option that people might go for. But we don't have to spend too long on this if we're honest with ourselves. But most people are going to bring in Salah. And is there anybody that you think is even worth thinking about if you've got Salah in your team?
No, it's the top two in it. Obviously, Saka's got his injury doubts after hobbling off. I think he will play because it seems to happen most games that he's like managing. Just a little knock. But yeah, Salah's the best option by far. And like I'd say, like if you don't have it in your team and the only route to get him back is a -4, if that's a good -4 way of getting rid of like not great players, I'd do it. So you can captain him.
Well, out of this, him, Saka, and the other one, as I say, Solanke, Salah's technically playing the most difficult defence. That surprised me. So this calendar year, because I don't know why this time round, I've decided that's my metric. Yeah. Sheffield United away, defensively, are better than Luton and Crystal Palace away. That surprised me. But just to back up your point, Salah's at home, his last 6 expected goal involvement is more than double Saka and more than 3 times Solanke's outputs.
No, exactly. Yeah, he's a better player, and like compared to Solanke, he plays for a far more attacking team, right? Sometimes these like team stats, particularly when it's like home and away, it is skewed by who they've actually played, right? So Sheffield United's defensive stats are not going to look as good once they've played Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
But whenever a team plays Arsenal, Man City, or Liverpool, it's going to be like those are the toughest games, right? So if they haven't played those teams, it's going to skew stats a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
So I think I won't look at that. I won't overthink that. Although, like Sheffield United, it was going around that they're great because they got a low block and strikers hate playing against them. And it was like, I think it was the Watkins, wasn't it? It was the Watkins fixture where lots of people captained him in at home. He got 2 points in that game, but then the reverse fixture, he got 20 points. So it's just an awful team.
They can play the lower block. Did they not just set a record for conceding 3 home games in a row?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not buying into it. I'll be fully on the Salah train. I don't know whether you like
I think we can all appreciate your foreigners, though, innit? Like even when it's not even a point of debate, we'll chat it through, innit?
yeah. You've got to say something to
Yeah,
try and back up some people. If people are trying to chase in leagues, we've got to give them something to think about rather than the
yeah.
obvious. But we're back with questions with Matt. I think it's been a couple of weeks since we've thrown these on. A couple of new people submitting some questions. So big shout out to the people that did. So we'll start straight at the top. At FPL Newboy, first time submission. So thanks for that, FPL Newboy. Which 90, you mentioned before about 90 minutes, Matt, which the importance of playing
Yeah.
90-minute strikers. So which 90-minute striker is best to replace Watkins? Now I'm assuming Darwin's not technically a 90-minute striker.
Yeah, let's I think that's quite that's the telling bit of that question there. So let's discount Nunes, who I think probably we both like a lot. Let's assume you got Haaland. Let's assume you got Solanke as like no brainers, because I think those are the two best options. I think other than that, it probably depends on your chip strategy, right? So if you're free hitting in 34, or you don't have a wild card, I think Isak could be the best option.
Yeah.
And I'm putting down as a 90-minute striker because, like, he's the starting striker for Newcastle, and like Wilson's out, like he's going to be playing that he's going to get secure minutes for the long term for sure. If you're playing more of a strategy around wild carding in 35, or you're not free hitting in 34, which I think is a really great option. Like the people who've like held it have done a really good job there, the way it's kind of fallen. I would say, yeah, I think it's a top. We mentioned two players already. Like we'll mention them again. I think it's a toss up between Mateta and Cunha. So Palace and kind of Wolves, just like jumping on them for some okay fixtures in a double. Yeah, you can do a lot worse than those guys. And then it can mean nice upgrades elsewhere, right? If you're lacking Salah or you're lacking another big hitter, it kind of allows you to upgrade your midfield as well. So, yeah.
So I think you probably, I mean, he's 3.5 million more expensive, Watkins, but I appreciate FPL Newboy might have value in him, so it might only be 3 million. But you're right. What can you do with that 3 million if you drop to Cunha?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There you go. Solanke, if you haven't got him already, would be top. But then you're looking at Isak, Cunha, Mateta. FPL Oz, also first time submission. So he's asking you about your wildcard strategy, and you mentioned game week 35 looks pretty set for you, but he's unsure himself whether to play in 31 or 34. Now, 34 interested me because that's obviously when double game week teams kick into play. So I don't know whether FPL Oz has his free hit to play in 37, and if he does, fine. If he doesn't, that seems a weird strategy to me. But yeah, what's your take?
Yeah, I'm glad you read it out as well as FPL Oz. I misread that. I was hoping you were. I was hoping you were going to misread it as well. But yeah, obviously my wildcard strategy is the chips I've got left: the wildcard and bench boost. I'm wildcarding in 35 unless there's like kind of like really mad changes between now and then. Reason for that is I don't have the right players, but I am quite well set between now and 34. So I've got like 9 double game weekers already. Depending on how the Liverpool injuries work, because I've got Kelleher and Bradley, yeah, I'll be pretty well set up for that team and quite, a decent team in and around those fixtures as well, right? So it didn't really make sense to wild cards to kind of push and target that game week, and went for 35 because it made just the way the two doubles have landed in 34 and 37. There's no team that has 2 doubles, right? So it's almost like it's a great opportunity to dead end. And then in 35, you can kind of target teams like Chelsea and Spurs that have got 2 extra fixtures in literally, what's that? Like you've got game week 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. You got like in 4 game weeks, they've got 2 extra fixtures, right? Which on paper sounds really good. Obviously, got to be wary of rotation and stuff like that. But I think it feels like a bit of a no-brainer. On your own question, I think what do you play at 31 or 34? Obviously, there's that reaction to any of these questions. It's team dependent and depends on when have you got chips and how your team is set up for 34 and 37. I would say, I think the plans for wildcard strategy at the moment is optimizing your team for the doubles. I think let's not overcomplicate it. You want to get as many good players in those two doubles as possible. And yeah, it depends on what other fixtures you've got. I would say game week 34 for most teams is a bad game week to wildcard. Because if you want to target for game week 34, teams that have got good doubles in 34, they got a nice run up as well, right? So if you want to really target game week 34, do it now. Do you know what I mean? Get Salah now, get Nunez now if you want to have him, get the best Arsenal players, get them now, right? So you can benefit from the really good fixtures between now and 34. As I was saying earlier about my own wildcard strategy, 35 onwards, it's completely different teams wild kind of like double in. So I think game week 34 is a bad game week to wildcard because you're almost doing it for 1 week, right? Because you want to be targeting that double, but then thereafter none of those teams are doubling, right? So it's almost like a complete shift of your team. So if you're like talking about a wildcard of 34 because you're thinking about the forward fixtures between now and the end of this, 34 and the end of the season, 35 is a better strategy in my opinion.
Yeah. I get that. So if you're targeting 34, do it now. If you want the double players in for 34, do it now. If not, wait till 35. Makes sense. But yeah, as you say, if you've got free hits in the back pocket, might be a slight difference. Now, Formsy, again, first time submission, is free hitting in 34.
Nice. I like it.
Who is the best? Yeah, so the question is, who are the best sub 7 million mids other than Palmer? Now, just to read off in case it helps in any way, you'll obviously have Chelsea and Tottenham doubling twice. You'll then have a City, Brighton, Man United, and Newcastle also doubling. Other than Palmer for those teams, the only one I could maybe jump on, I'm a massive Pascal Gross fan, but his fixtures aren't great. Nor are they in the double, so I might not go there. There's a reason I've just sold him. But is there anybody under that 7 million? I mean, we went through the list. The potential Gordon replacements and the ones that kind of jumped out to you were Eze. You had Decore.
Yeah, I think obviously like reading that question, if we're talking about sub 7 million mids, a free hit in 34, which I think is a really nice strategy. Like, so fair play, plan that. I think the options there are Eze.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of the free hit now. Like if that's the plan, so I think it would be Eze. It would be Sarabia. If Hwang is back, Hwang of course. Like, I've got who's the other kind of Wolves one that was pretty good. What's his name?
Neto.
What's that? Neto, yeah, Pedro Neto, yeah. Kind of like obviously we don't know their fitness, but yeah, Sarabia if they're out, and then Neto and Hwang, and then Decore I think is a kind of really like awesome option as well for that kind of that double in particular. Other than that, I'm going to have a quick look actually. So if we're talking about players not in 34, but for kind of like the wider plan, which might be the question.
Yeah, because Formsy could get all of them in 34 just on his free hit, right? So exactly. It's like if we ignore that completely, Pascal Gross is the best I could come up with, but you might see a gap. I think United have some nice fixtures. If Garnacho isn't a bad pick, he's only 4.9 million last I looked. They double later on in the season.
I think Garnacho, Gordon, Gross. Let me think who else. I think the Forest will double again.
I don't think so. Not from the looks of the spreadsheet.
Look. Let me just look at like the doubles. I think those are a few. I think Garnacho is the one that when I was like doing some planning myself really like stood out as a cheap option with some nice fixtures. But kind of Gross is a valid option. I think Gordon is an option as well. I just kind of thinking like the kind of Spurs, Richarlison of course. Richarlison is probably the best one. Richarlison is the best one. Yeah. I think I might be an early adopter. Like I love that phrase.
No, I think he is. I think he's 6.8. If I'm not mistaken, he's 6.8, 6.9. So he just qualifies for a sub 7 mil. 6.9. So he qualifies as a sub 7 mil just but he qualifies nevertheless.
In a roundabout way and very unprepped way, we've landed on the best option because obviously
Right option.
the best teams to go for now are like, assuming you're free hitting a 34 and like you're talking about like the longer term in and around that, you obviously want Spurs and Chelsea players, right? So Palmer's by far the best, and I think we probably landed on Richarlison there as the next best bet really. I don't think any of the other Spurs option who are sub 7 mil are that valid. Like Johnson isn't, Werner isn't, Kulusevski isn't, obviously Maddison is, but I believe he's like 8 or 8.1.
Yeah,
And then at Chelsea is really just Palmer. Is a league as his own really. There's no really other valid options really. I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
I'd be Sterling's above 7 mil, but if you're looking outside at the Spurs and Chelsea options, I think a few of those players that we listed, I think a decent Garnacho, Gross, Gordon.
There you go, Formsy. Alexis McAllister is the answer to your. Richarlison is the answer to your dreams. And then I think we've rounded out transfer question of the week. FPL Finiesta. This is also a first time submission, so thank you for that. Quite a simple one. Son Watkins to Salah Nunes or Foden Watkins to Salah budget. So I suppose the question really is: would you rather have Nunes and Foden? Is that right? Yeah, Nunes and Foden or Son and a budget striker.
Let's give it the. I think it's quite easy answer, but we'll give it the usual caveat, and it like depends on your team. It depends on your how many chips you got, because obviously Son is a nice option, a great option. 35 onwards, I think. He's someone that you can go without the next couple. He's blanking in 34 for God's sake, right? And costs so much, but and I think we're looking at the expected points earlier. I tend to agree with it. It was like Foden was like really, really highly rated, right? I think Foden's got a double come up in 34 as well. So yeah, it's really easy. Son and Watkins to Salah and Nunes, I think it's a lot better than the other options.
I think it's 37 that Foden doubles in. But he's got, he plays for Man City. He's got nice fixtures.
No, exactly.
He's played for the best team in the land.
And we can expect a bit of rotation, right? So I think it depends on your team setup and how confident of minutes you are. But like he's played pretty much 90 quite consistently, right? So there's going to be a bit of rotation here and then with like Champions League and fixture congestion. But I think it's Son is blanking at 34, which is, I think it's just quite a big thing.
So Son Watkins to Salah Nunes. All legs in on the Liverpool train.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I'd expect maybe Nunes to be benched this Tuesday. Are they playing Tuesday or Wednesday?
Thursday.
Okay. Well, a bit more time. But I think I'm expecting Gakpo to start over Nunes. So I think get ready for that. But I think over a couple of game weeks they should the point should come in for that option.
I'll be surprised if Nunes doesn't start. He went off early. I don't mind Gakpo starting, but I could see Nunes going left, Gakpo down the middle, Diaz getting the rest because Diaz hasn't had a rest. So I'll be surprised if Nunes doesn't play.
Okay.
Don't quote me, anybody that's listening, and give me shit on Twitter. But I will be surprised if he doesn't play.
Does that happen a lot?
You get all the time because you told me Nunes. I've probably told people Nunes have played 15 times. But moving on to quite a momentous day for you, Matt. Matt versus Dave, for the first time since we've started doing this, which is 23 game weeks ago, roughly, you are leading. You have taken the lead 12-11 thanks to Eze's assist and Mooney's with his 93rd minute goal. Whereas Richarlison and Jackson, for me, did nothing. So 11 points in your pocket, 3 points in mine. Jackson let me down, as he has all season. Should have scored twice, didn't score at all. So, well, firstly, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I think Jackson could be a striker option as well. If you like coming up towards the end of the season as well, I might go there again. I might have a Isaac Jackson
doubles
strike force. bit concerning. But yeah, I mean, there's a fourth in there as well. Like, don't you have to captain a defender? Like
The defender in game week 1. Yeah.
if I
So
win this,
what? 36. So for Jackson, 36, 37, 38. The chances are he plays 5 games. It's like, why would you not get him?
no, yeah,
But anyway, not only are you leading 12-11, you get to pick first for game week 31.
cool. Havertz.
Havertz, top of the shop. He was on the list, annoyingly. 10 returns in his last 7. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
And he's only 3.5% owned, so more than qualifies. I am looking at a couple of options. I'm going to back my boy. Alexis McAllister. He's returned in 5 games in a row. He's been playing further forward. He is pushing an assistant. I'm backing my lad. 3.9% owned.
Okay.
Might be a bad move. I'm going for him. You can tell from your face you're made up because that gives you open goal for anybody else you want.
No, that I was thinking of a second. I'm guessing Diaz is well over owned, isn't he?
Yeah, he's well over. The only real Liverpool options you've got are Gomez if you want to go defence. Yeah, if you think Gakpo's going to start, Gakpo's like 3% owned, so Gakpo would qualify.
All right, let me just remind myself.
I think Szoboszlai.
Yeah, I was thinking
Szoboszlai would be less than 5.
I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go Barnes.
Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
On the back of a brace.
And
he's got to get a start, right?
He's got a start, and Newcastle at home. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to have to gamble. It was either Cunha away at Burnley. He's got 12 returns in his last 12, but I'm worried just coming back from injury, he might come off the bench.
Yeah, I think he will.
So I'm gonna play a guy who has just come back from injury but has got the game time off the bench, and he's at home to Luton Town. I'm going to go for Martinelli. 4.8% owned.
Yeah, that's a nice move, I think.
Whether he starts is a different matter. He didn't obviously start against City, but I think in a much more attacking Arsenal side, they're going to be less defensive against Luton. I think they'll start Martinelli. So Havertz and Harvey Barnes against Martinelli and the big man, Alexis McAllister. So you wait until Alexis McAllister gets 12 points, brings home the bacon for me. And if you go 13-11 up, I deserve all I get. Moving on to game week 31 and looking at our teams. Start with me. I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. So just to run through it very quickly. Raya, Gabriel, both at home to Luton. Bradley at home to Sheffield United. And at the minute, I'm playing Nuri, who is away at Burnley. The Wolves manager did come out and say that he felt Nuri was a little bit tired after playing on the international break. But he subbed him off in the 63rd minute. So I'm hoping, taking him off early, giving him a couple of days rest, he will get to start. And he nearly scored at the weekend. So I'll probably play him and gamble on that. Wolves need the points, right? And he's probably their best attacking defender. And then across the midfield, Palmer at home to United, Saka home to Luton, Salah with the armband at home to Sheffield United, Son away at West Ham, and up front again picks itself. Solanke home to Palace, Haaland at home to Villa, and Darwin at home to Sheffield United. A big thing that jumps out for me, ideally I'd roll it. That's what I wanted to do. But I've kind of touched on this already. Lascelles is out for the season.
Yeah.
He's 3.9 million.
Yeah.
I haven't got any money in the bank. I kind of need to do something with him. Gusto again. We'll see how long his injury is. He's a problem. He's 4.2 million. The only player I can really bring in is Richards at Palace. He's 3.9 million and has played 90 minutes pretty much every game since game week 14. Palace also double, both at home, in game week 34. So as much as I want to roll it, I feel I'm going to have to do it because Lascelles is going to drop in price, I'd imagine. So I kind of need to do it soon. So I might well do that, and I'll bench him. I'll bench Richards, and I'll play the team that you see in front of you.
So why do you need to move the shells on?
Because he's never going to play for the rest of the season, and haven't got any money to move. I'm looking forward, right? I'm looking forward, and I don't see any of my attackers, any 8 of those attackers, including Sarabia on the bench, who has no value in him at all, by the way. I don't see me moving any of them on until game week 35. So it just brings me into a situation where if we find out Gusto's out for a couple of weeks now, I'm left with 3 defenders.
When would you
If we
play?
wait,
When would you play? When would you played Lascelles or Richards now? The next couple.
the next couple, I won't play Richards at all until game week 34.
Like you said, I mean, roll is the option really here. Loads of people have a squad as well.
That's the logic.
Inactive players. Yeah, I'm not seeing this at all.
I don't see it, no. Do you know?
Yeah.
My worry is, once the price changes, I can't move the shells onto anybody at all
Of course you
because
can.
I've got no money in the bank.
You have 2 free
Who would I
transfers, don't you?
move?
If you really want to do it, you move like Son to someone else and then change. You could bring in Trent if you want. Well, you can't actually because you're fully committed. But you could go to Van Dijk, couldn't you, if you wanted? If you're moving Son to the Corey or something like that. So yeah, I would roll and have the flexibility. I think that's the option. That's the way forward. You're not giving you much flex working towards 34, right? There's other injuries, and also you already know that you want to get rid of Bradley. Bradley was a very short-term move, right? So, I think I'd be rolling, given Lascelles was never going to play for you. Richards conveniently would play in 34, but he wouldn't. He wouldn't play actually. He'd play Nori, Gabriel, and
he wouldn't see the pitch this week.
What's the point?
At all,
you just want someone to be on your bench. Just roll it.
Basically, I want somebody to be on the bench whilst I can afford to have somebody on the bench. Because give it 2 days, I won't be able to afford anybody on the bench.
Well, Lascelles is doing that job anyway, isn't he? So
I'm sitting on the bench.
yeah.
But if people don't play, Lascelles can't come on, whereas at least Richards does. That was my thought process.
Well, for 1 point, 1 or 2 points, he ain't going to do anything, is he?
Likely. Although they apparently have the 7th or 8th best defense. But again, I don't know who they played in those games. It looks like
starting over Gabriel then. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. Richards wasting a transfer's worth 4 points, isn't it? You're wasting a transfer for somebody who's going to play exactly the same role as Lascelles.
Which is true. I might have even started Lascelles next against. They're probably not against Everton, to be fair, but they've got a fixture in maybe 33 that I might have started him in, but I won't be starting Richards. So I get your point. There's
more problem if you bench boost and stuff like that, but that's not happening for weeks and weeks, and by then you're downgraded. Darwin, do you know what I mean? You would have got rid of maybe one that Saka even. So yeah, I think that's a problem for another day. So I'd be viewing. I wouldn't be making that move. I'd want more flex going into next game week where you can make some interesting moves, or just keep your powder dry.
You don't think Richards is going to score a brace?
Well, watch him do it, but he'd be on your bench anyway.
He would. He absolutely would be on the bench. So yeah, going forward, Bradley has to go. Probably, maybe even this weekend. Trent isn't far off coming back. I think I need Branthwaite. They're both 4.2 million. So again, it's a price I've got to keep my eye on because I haven't got a lot of flexibility in my defensive prices. And then longer term, we'll see what the crack is with Gusto. I think Saka should be all right, but we'll see what the crack is with Gusto.
Well, if Gusto's out, you bring Richards to him.
Well, exactly. Gusto straight down to Richards, saves me 0.3 million, and then a little bit of flexibility in the bank. But no, it'd be Gusto to Branthwaite. That'd be the move, and then we'll see what happens with Bradley. But yeah, that's me. That is me. But I see your point. I'm bringing in a player. When you say it out loud, you're bringing in a player that's just going to sit on your bench. I see your point. So it's So yeah, I won't panic on the price points too much. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
I think so.
Yeah, I get it. But onto your team. So this is where you're at the minute. Talk us through it.
So yeah, quite like the look of my team at the moment. So yeah, got Kelleher, Bradley, Saliba, Gabriel, so all really great home fixtures for all them. Midfield, Richarlison, who should be back. Well, he's back because he came on as a sub and I think should be starting. Richarlison, Saka, who I'm assuming is fit, Salah captain, of course. Palmer. Then up front, I've got Solanke, Haaland, and probably injured Watkins against Man City. I'd be very happy playing Watkins if he was fit, and I may kind of keep him there. Gordon is on my bench. It's a bit annoying that he's suspended against Everton at home. He'd be a really nice option. He always does something at home, right? Of course, and Watkins being injured, that would be really nice. Ideally, I'd like to roll, and I think I'm probably happy to keep this 11 out. And then if Watkins doesn't play, yeah, Zabarani for Bournemouth comes on, and like I'm not expecting to do anything, but they could get a clean sheet. I think probably the odds would be about 25% to 30% odds to get on a clean sheet at home against Palace. I'll take that. I'll take it as 2 points. Like happy days. I think having the flexibility moving forward just makes a lot more sense. If I think Saka is out as well as Watkins, then my team becomes like quite thin. If that does happen, then I can consider moving Gordon to Decore and Eze, a Sarabia. Yeah, all these kind of nice, cheap options that have got a double in 34 and some like decent fixtures in and around it. Other option would be Watkins to Acuna or Mateta. I think with Cunha, I've got a little bit of nerves whether he'll come straight back into the Wolves starting lineup after being out for a little bit. Mateta, I've got some nerves whether he is fully nailed. I think my preference though would be probably moving Gordon to someone over Watkins, just because I want to target Nunes for that position. Obviously, I've got 3 Liverpool players already, so I can't do a like for like move. If I wasn't in 3 Liverpool players, I'd do that straight away. So that takes 2 free transfers. So yeah, looking at my team, talking out loud, I'll probably roll just to give that flexibility moving forward. Although depending on Saka injury news, Watkins injury news, I may be forced to move Gordon on to Sarabia, Decore, Eze. I think they're all decent options really. But yeah, I'm quite happy playing Zabani, and it's not a great player to have in my starting lineup, but I can live with it.
Yeah, I get you. And, do you like it when there's like the game weeks just flying? So obviously we only finished one yesterday. We've got another one starting tomorrow. Then we'll have another one starting on Saturday. Do you like it when it's the midweek game weeks?
Probably not. I adds like a lot of rotation complications, right? And like less certainty with like I haven't been very good at predicting minutes this year, and it like just adds a bit of complexity to it. So it's nice being like the standard like week between press conferences and whatnot. So got to make a few other calls. I think I'm probably just I'm gonna when there's a lot of fixtures as well, that like injuries do stack up, don't they, in the uncertainty. So I think it's nice. It'd be nice going into the weekend with 2 free transfers, and like for me personally, could be quite a big one. Obviously, Bradley, like Trent could come back and Bradley could be dropped. That would be quite big news. And then obviously, if that's the case, then it's like easy for me to move Bradley to similar moves to you, Branthwaite, and then Watkins to Nunes, right? So I think I'll roll probably just to give that sort of flexibility.
Yeah. No, I get it. Practice on what you preach. I like it, Matt. I like it. And that brings us to the end. We'll discuss what we're going to do, because we've obviously got another deadline prior to, well, on Saturday morning, I think is the deadline, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll discuss that, and if we can get the chance to chat prior, we'll discuss that offline. Nobody else has to listen to that conversation. I'm sure we'll bore them. But yeah, wish you the best of luck. Appreciate you joining us, Matt, as always, and wishing you a mighty green arrow.
Same for you. And if you do bring in Richards, make sure you vice captain him at least.
Oh, of course. I'll play him ahead of Gabriel. The Arsenal defense is garbage. Get rid of that. But no, appreciate you coming. Appreciate the advice as always. I'm pretty sure after that conversation, I'm probably going to roll. So much appreciated
Roll,
your advice. And but no, thank you again, and thank you to you the listener, whether you're new to us, you're one of our new subscribers, thank you very much, or whether you've been with us throughout, we appreciate it regardless. If you did enjoy and you found some use in it, please do give us a like, give us a subscribe. It does help us out and helps other people to find us. But same for you as well. All the best with your transfers, whatever you do this game week, and may your arrows be green. Until next time.